Hey guys, so today's video is about James Charles because he is making more announcements about his makeup brand. I feel like this has been in the works for literally like a year. I think when I first moved into this place, which was kind of around June, July, I filmed a video about James Charles' brand and why I think it's going to fail. And since then, we've had like basically no announcements until now. Obviously, he has created his second TikTok account for asking people about their opinions on kind of the makeup they're planning on launching. So he will get something from the lab, show it on TikTok, ask what people think about it. Just kind of like free research and development that usually brands will pay for. But I mean, look, to each their own, right? Obviously, I've already made the video about why I don't think James Charles' makeup line is going to do very well. Well, not as well as it would do if he had released it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, I think there was a better time to release a makeup line, and that time is not now. He isn't at his peak at all anymore. I think the views on his YouTube kind of show that. Like, they're still great, but they're great for a channel that isn't James Charles's, if that makes sense. Like, he used to get minimum 5 million views if it was a flop, 10 million views if it was a good video, up to 20 million views if it was an amazing video. Now he barely hits 1 million views on most of his videos, and they're not very makeup centered. I feel like he does these like weird challenge videos to get like a TikTok audience interested. I feel like this just seems like TikTok content. I don't think he's at his peak anymore at all. He's not gaining subs. A lot of the time he's losing subs. Obviously his TikTok account is doing well in terms of if it was anyone but James Charles. I feel like when I say things like, oh, his career is like falling off, like his views are good. I want those views, but for me, not for him. I think for him, those views aren't great. So whenever I say everything, it has to be taken with the understanding of I'm talking purely about James Charles and what that means for his career and not just for everyone's career. I think 1 million views per video is great for most people. For James Charles, that is falling off, if that makes sense. So like everything is in the perspective and context of James Charles. The makeup community is also not where it used to be. Forma's gone bankrupt, Becca's gone bankrupt, Morphe has gone bankrupt because of Forma, obviously. I think if he had released his makeup line at the height of the makeup community when everything was selling out, you know, Jack and Hill was working with Morphe, Jack and Hill had Becca Champagne Pop, like there was just a lot going on. And I think he released one eyeshadow palette with Morphe and then he did that mini one that didn't sell out. I think that instead of that mini palette, there would have been a perfect opportunity for him to just release his own makeup line. And the makeup line was supposed to come out this like passing holidays now, and it's moved to spring, which is obviously coming up now. And maybe just maybe, the reason why he's been announcing his brand for so long and it's just been kind of in the works for so long is because maybe it was supposed to be with Forma, aka Morphe, just like Jack and Hill's brands. If you guys don't know, I'm gonna recap you guys very quickly. Jack and Hill Cosmetics is fully 100% owned by Forma. So now that Forma's in trouble, Jack and Hill Cosmetics is in trouble. And before all these documents came out, we all thought that like Jack and Hill could just pack up her company and go, kind of like Rem Beauty, Ariana Grande's brand, because Rem Beauty was not owned by Forma. They were just helped. They were like funded in a sense by Forma. Jack and Hill Cosmetics is 100% owned by Forma. She has never owned any shares in her own company. She is being paid for licensing her name and her likeness for the brand, but she's never owned the brand. She's never been a CEO, a COO, anything of that sort. Now, I wonder if James Charles was going to release his brand with Forma and he had kind of like somewhat of a brand ready to go, and then obviously all of his scandals came out and Morphe dropped him because they were forced to. They were peer pressured into dropping him, and it took them ages to do it because they were so reluctant. Now I'm thinking, was this reluctancy to drop him because they had this like brand ready to go and they would have made a bunch of money together, and it was hard for them to like give up on that check, but they kind of had to, and then they went bankrupt anyway. So whatever, maybe it's good for him that he didn't go Forma, because now Jack and Hill is really struggling and being like strung around different courts and being involved in different court documents that just don't make her look good. So maybe it was actually good for James Charles to not be involved in Forma and all of this. Now, like I said, he does have a separate TikTok account for getting opinions on his makeup samples, and what we do know so far is he's launching some kind of a blush launch situation, whether it be a palette, singles, duos, whatever it be. He is thinking about cream and powder. Very obvious choice to go with. There are also a lot of the shades that he's got are dupes for very popular TikTok shades right now. One of them is like Bubblegum Pink, which was the Dior one. Then the Corally one, which is also the Dior one. I don't know, I think it's a very basic launch, but I mean, if the formula's good, people maybe like it. But he did say that a blush is not going to be his first launch. It's the launch that he's really focusing on his TikTok account, but it's not going to be his first launch. And that's what he said in his YouTube video recently. And he has also in that same YouTube video addressed that it has been really helpful to get help and feedback on his launch.
One thing that I have been documenting every single step of the way has been these blushes that I am working on. I have a cream and powder formula, and I just made a video because I got my final samples in of the formula and they are good to go. I'm super excited. excited. The blushes, full transparency, will not be the first launch. They are quite a while away, but it's just really fun for me to be able to kind of ask you guys for your opinions and feedback. And if I do it early enough, I can actually take those opinions into consideration when it comes to the formula, which I think is really dope.
What's really interesting is a lot of OG YouTubers are coming over to TikTok to rekindle their careers, and that is including James Charles, Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star hasn't sold out since like the controversy palette and then the controversy that happened afterwards. He hasn't sold out since. Whenever I go on Beauty Bay, which is the UK retailer that sells Jeffree Star cosmetics, his makeup is always on sale. If I go on the sale page, there is going to be Jeffree Star cosmetics, always. So I think Jeffree Star knows that he needs TikTok to rekindle his career. James Charles needs TikTok to rekindle his career. Nikki Tutorials has fully moved over from YouTube to TikTok pretty much. She doesn't post on YouTube much anymore at all. And I think these OG YouTubers just know that like this is their chance to revive a very dead career. Beauty community on YouTube for the OG YouTubers has been dead for a while. And I feel like some of these people on TikTok don't know about James Charles' scandals or Jeffree Star's scandals. They just kind of are treating them as like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember these names, I might look into them now. But like they haven't been there through Dramageddon 1, 2, and 3 because they were too young. I think the TikTok audience is way too young to know what James Charles has done, what Jeffree Star has done to not buy from them. And I think there's going to be another Dramageddon, but just like on TikTok, when people figure out everything from James Charles' past and Jeffree Star's past. But for now, that is the best route for them to try and have like a semi-successful makeup line, mainly for James Charles. I think even people that don't like him are going to buy his makeup out of pure curiosity. It's kind of like when Jaclyn Hill released her lipsticks. Even if you didn't like her, you bought them just so you could film a video on them, and then that ended up being a gold mine for everyone. So let me know if you guys want me to get something. I know it feels a bit counterproductive to give him money, but I could just expense it and use it in a YouTube video and then maybe donate it somewhere. If you guys want to know if everything is high quality or not, let me know. I also think when I filmed my first YouTube video on why I think James Charles' makeup line is going to fail, it was just coming out of COVID and makeup still wasn't very popular. Like you could tell that a lot of brands were struggling to get the hang of things after COVID really put skincare on the map and took makeup away. But I think in the last year or so, makeup has really been revived. Like there is a revival of makeup. I think we have Refi, P. Louise, Pink Honey, Makeup by Mario, Charlotte Tilbury is booming on TikTok. So there is a chance that James Charles can have a successful launch. I don't know if it's the launch that he would have had if he had released during like the Morphe era, because I think that would have been like millions, multi-millions, like he would have done so well. I think now he's still going to do well, but I just don't think it is what it used to be. Talking about numbers, however, there was a glossy article on apparently the earnings for both Jaclyn Hill and Nikita Dragun. Now the Jaclyn Hill ones have been confirmed because of the former bankruptcy case court documents, but the Nikita Dragun ones haven't been released anywhere officially, so I'm just going to trust Glossy on this. So Glossy wrote an article about Nikita Dragun's makeup line Dragun Beauty, which obviously launched a few years back, and everyone kind of thought it was a flop because there was really not much going on. Like reviews were lukewarm, there weren't many launches. However, allegedly they made 2 million first year, 5 million second year, and then 25 million in the third year. And I'm assuming that 25 million in the third year was when Nikita started associating with Hype House and the TikTokers, and that really brought her a lot of eyes. So I'm thinking TikTok might just be the way for James Charles to have a successful launch, the one that he had hoped for years ago, for Jeffree Star to revive his dying makeup line. Like I think TikTok really is helping these OG YouTubers come back, because when I'm looking at these numbers, the 2 million and 5 million was when she first launched the line, so I'm seeing the 25 million was kind of coming off the Hype House hype train. But then Nikita became highly controversial, highly problematic. There was just so much going on. She was always kind of problematic, but then like, you know, everything hit the fan, and then she really kind of took a break and a hiatus on social media, and the numbers shrank to 1 million in 2021. Dragun's representative disputed these numbers but declined to share any additional details, citing confidentiality. So apparently she kept pummeling the brand with crisis PR around her antics, which ultimately hurt our ability to scale with partners like Ulta Beauty and Urban Outfitters. So she wasn't able to kind of get them into traditional retailers, and that's the problem. Will James Charles be able to get into traditional retailers? I think so, unless people really pressure these brands the way they pressured Morphe. I think he's got a chance of entering retail spaces, and that's what's going to push his brand. So then it's up to everyone to hold these retailers accountable for not allowing James Charles to sell in those retailers. We shouldn't let someone like that be successful, and show him that it doesn't matter what he does, he'll still be famous, rich, and successful. Now Jaclyn Hill also made a few million a year since launching her brand, which is obviously incredible. The fact that she was able to do that after the lipstick gate situation is mind-blowing. But yeah, looking at these numbers, I think James Charles has a chance, and that's if everyone just chooses to ignore everything is done, which I hope they don't, and I hope that info does make its way over to TikTok. And if it doesn't, I will bring that info over to TikTok, because I think it's ridiculous for Jeffree Star and James Charles to just sweep everything under the rug and just enter a whole new social media platform and act like nothing happened. Recently, James Charles has actually announced that he would be doing a campaign for his makeup line, so that's kind of adding the extra hype on TikTok. He's basically asking people to stitch his campaign TikTok with kind of times where like they were most excited about makeup and like most loved makeup and loved their makeup and stuff like that, and just show off their like favorite looks. And I was expecting more stitches to be like shading James Charles, but maybe they're all getting taken down for harassment and bullying, because TikTok is quite strict. But yeah, so he's starting this campaign. You have to be 18 plus, and if you win, you're gonna get flown out and you're gonna take part in the campaign for the spring launch. So that's something that James Charles is doing. I'm glad he's specifying 18 plus. That's really important. Yeah, I just wonder how that's gonna go for him, and I'm so curious to see his first product. Just sheer curiosity. I just want to know. But anyway, subscribe, like, comment for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.